Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend review brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana and into the Florida Panhandle. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. Weekend review is a day late because the Zurich Classic was a day late. It finished on Monday. And yet another unknown player captures the title. New Orleans has become a breeding ground for unknown players winning their first PGA titles.
Well, you could blame it on a lot of things. You could say it's the course. You could say it's the field. You could say it's, the opportunity that presents itself there. I mean, obviously, I think this was you had some pretty good players in this field, but look, give Stewart credit. He played bogey-free golf for the entire weekend, which turned out to be 5 days to get in 3 rounds, but still, he went out and earned it. Made an incredible shot on the second playoff hole from 171 yards to stick his approach to within a couple of feet of the pin for a kick-in birdie to win the playoff. So he went out and earned this, and thankfully it did get to 54 holes. They dealt with the weather. The course held up very well. Kudos to Steve Worthy and everyone with the Four Kids Foundation for getting this thing to the finish.
Yeah, really disappointing. There's nothing they can do. They do a great job. They had plans. They were ready to roll. They got everything executed that they could. So, again, congratulations on a job well done, and hopefully the weather improves next year. College baseball and teams resuming play. Tulane moving up in the polls, LSU sliding a little bit. And weather obviously was a big impact this past weekend on college baseball locally.
It was. Tulane lost the final game of its series with Houston. UNO played to get it all in. They stayed at it till about 1:30 in the morning on Saturday, knowing that the window was going to be tight on Sunday, and they were exactly right. Tulane tried to start earlier on Sunday, still couldn't get their game in with Houston. You want to get them in, but you look at this in retrospect, and it might be something that actually helps Tulane down the road just in terms of positioning. It might actually help them, in a tiebreaker scenario to win the conference championship. So game lost, but, you play on, and yes, Tulane did move up, LSU down. UL Lafayette had a rough week as well, still in a couple of the polls. So, how is this all going to play out? We've got 3 weeks left in the regular season. I think it's very possible that no one hosts in Louisiana. You've got a lot of Louisiana teams, but what may happen? You may have 3 schools from Mississippi hosting. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Southern Miss all in a position right now that they could host. So you might have a Louisiana exodus to Mississippi come weekend after Memorial Day.
I was going to bring that up. I think that's very, very likely. LSU's a game over in the SEC right now. That's not going to get it done for hosting. They need a huge close to be able to get in a host position. It's still possible, but you have to be troubled by their Sunday pitcher, Valak, who's been knocked out immediately 2 straight weekends, and by their Friday night pitcher, Poche, who's simply not pitching like it.
Yeah, they're struggling right now. These are 2 key weekends for them coming up. Arkansas and Tennessee the next 2 weekends. They're better than these 2 teams, and I think they've got to win 5 out of 6 over the next 2 weekends because they close at home with the number 1 team in the nation, the Florida Gators.
Yeah, they've got to, I think, win 5 out of 6, if not sweep, and then they've got to win the series with Florida if they want to host. I really believe that's, and then, of course, a good run in the SEC tournament, but that's another story. So stay tuned where that's concerned. High school baseball, and what a mess this past weekend on the field and off the field. And, of course, you can read our story at SportsNOLA.com about enforcing a rule. The rule was right by law. The LHSAA did the right thing, and it's a rule that was passed by principals and coaches. At the same time, the spirit of the rule is terrible, and the enforcement of it obviously has to be questioned moving forward. They're going to have to amend this rule. You can't put a 2 out of 3 series in play and then tell people, sorry, you can't play it, when you still have 4 days to get it done.
It's if you're not going to start the next round until Friday, I don't know what the need is to have to finish it by Sunday. I think the intent of it was not to be playing double headers on a school
day. Get the kids in school, yeah.
Keep them in school. That I get. But look, we live in Louisiana. We get 2 and 3 days of rain at a time like we just finished experiencing here. And you got to be prepared for that as a possibility. The other thing that's out there is it's kind of the, and again, this is an unwritten part of the rule, if you will, but the responsibility of the home team, if their field becomes unplayable, then I think you lose home field advantage at that point. Someone has to step in and say, you're going to play at this neutral site that is playable, because clearly, and in at least one of the situations, I think that was the case where the home team says, no, we're not traveling. I don't care if you've got a place to play. We earned the right to be at home, and we're not traveling, and as a result, the series is over.
Amend the rules, get some things in place that make sense, and move on. Is it complicated? Yes. Is it difficult? Yes. But tough times call for tough people to make tough decisions. And obviously that's going to have to be fixed because the spirit of the rule is absolutely decimated. Nobody has more of a claim than North Lake Christian because by rule, their series should not be finished because they started game 2 and they actually had the lead. And by rule, it says you must play the game to completion. They didn't get the chance to do so.
Yeah, it's one of those, I guess they looked at one part of it, not another part of it. That one may not be over. It'd be interesting to see. As we sit here Tuesday morning, nothing's happened. But could something end up changing on that? At this point, I wouldn't be surprised at anything. But you hope for North Lake Christian's sake that something does happen. The only thought is, does that then open Pandora's box and they say, wait, now we're going to go let you play everything to completion, which I can't see how that is because, like you say, you talk about the schools that only got one game in, and maybe Newman in their case hadn't even thrown their ace yet because they're waiting for game 2 because he had thrown 3 days prior to game 1. Well, what do you put the onus back on the other side? The rule says if you only get in one game, the series is over, and it's the game 1 winner. So what do you do with those schools with a rule in place? It's truly a no-win situation.
And, of course, follow SportsNOLA.com. We have plans to stream some playoff games moving forward, and we'll have that forthcoming here within the next day or so. So stay tuned for that. And where high school softball is concerned, congratulations to all the state champions, none of whom reside in the greater New Orleans area. Great seasons, though, for a few local schools. Cabrini got to the championship game. Congratulations to them. Lutcher with a magical run. Congratulations. Archbishop Hannon got to the semifinals, but unfortunately in Sulphur, a shutout for our area teams.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about heading to Southwest Louisiana with all these shutouts that keep happening. It's baseball, softball, whatever it is. John Curtis managed to break through last year in baseball to snap a little bit of a streak there, but getting shut out this year in softball. Let's hope the area baseball teams that are still left, one of them can get through and win a title in a couple of weeks.
And a final note, as Ed Daniels reported at SportsNOLA.com early Tuesday, Kenny Benura will not return as head coach at Chalmette. He served as interim head coach, did a great job, but you kind of knew that this was coming, didn't you?
Kenny's had a chance to be a head coach numerous occasions the last few years and hasn't wanted to do it, and you can't fault the man for the position that he takes there, and he's sticking by his guns here. And look, give him credit for stepping into a situation here in midseason, leading this team to the second round of the playoffs. That is a very talented team and a team to watch next year in high school baseball in New Orleans.
No question about it. And we completed this game. It wasn't even 2 out of 3.
It wasn't 2 out of 3. I would have won if it would have been 2 out of 3. But clearly, game 1, you won this. So
I completely doubt that. But thanks anyway. We appreciate it. That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout the metropolitan New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. He's Lenny. I'm Kenny. I won, and thank you for joining us, and God bless you.